the sun shines bright all day. Down the coast toward Malibu way. That's where we dance, that's where we swim, where there's a her for every him, 'cause that's the way it's done among the young. Suntan boys in surfer pants, teaching all the girls the latest dance. We walk the dog, we do the twist, we do the swim, yeah, it goes like this, 'cause that's the way it's done among the young.
Hi, everyone in the world. Let me tell you, I might interview celebrities every day of the week. But Donna Loren, for us, is like the VIP of celebrities, because Terry and I love her so much. And this affection that we have is unbelievable because she is a superstar. How are you today, Donna?
Oh, plastic. The feeling is mutual for both of us, for all of us.
I got to say, you must be the most well-dressed woman in the world. What I'm looking at the moment, you'll get up with a hat. Please tell me about the hat because it looks totally amazing. I'm like, I've lost my mind, Terry.
Yeah, there's an wonderful, legendary painter named George O'Keeffe that used to paint in this region in New Mexico and Santa Fe, New Mexico. And what she did was she would look at a flower and she would enter the flower's world and paint it so enlarged that you felt like you were in the flower's world as well. So I suggest everyone take a peek at her very famous poppies paintings. And she also has one that is it's actually, oh gosh, I have to remember the name of it. It's a white trumpet-shaped flower, but it's actually a poisonous weed that she transformed into this gorgeous painting and is very world famous. So she used to wear a little sombrero like this. And now I'm living in the same region where she lived for many, many years and painted. So it's an homage to Georgia.
Yeah, her and her work are national treasures. So we understand that area of the country and the history that surrounds that.
And Terry, I see a tan. Where did that tan come from?
You know, I just got off the cruise ship a couple of days ago, and I must admit, we were outside a lot. The weather was perfect. We had a great time. Ate too much, but that's what you do on cruises. So,
well, stand up and show us your waistline.
we'll try that in about a month or so after it starts going back down.
Now, I got to say, before we get into it, I feel like we're in Spain and we're going to a bullfight after this interview. That's how I feel.
Well, that would be a bit violent for me, but I have to say, on my Facebook page, I posted a movie that Ava Gardner was in, and with James Mason, and it was about the Flying Dutchman. It was a film made in 1951 that was filmed in a part of Spain called Esperanza. And the Flying Dutchman was this incredible figure, legend. Are you familiar with the Flying Dutchman?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. I learned about that in elementary school.
So as a boy, they must not have been able to really convey what this person was actually going through, at least in the way that his story is written. He literally could never die until he met the woman of his dreams who would die for him. And this movie conveys that message thoroughly. I used to be the biggest fan of Gone with the Wind. And I still am, but now this puts Gone with the Wind #2. So it's Pandora and the Flying Dutchman. I recommend it to so many people. And there is a bullfight in there, which the bull takes command.
That's amazing. Now, Donna, I want to take you back now. We want to focus on your beach movies, because you have your beach movies, international pictures, right from 1964, and you have the beach movie series. And I just want to say that went along with your singing career, which was unreal for that time, Terry, because you got to understand something. In 1964, the Beatles are the biggest things, right? In the US, the Munster craze is the biggest things on TV with the Addams Family and the Munsters, right? That's a fad that came and left. But the beach movies culturally live on forever. And I just want to say, Annette Funicello with Frankie Avalon. I mean, you were with Annette Funicello in the Musketeers as well. You made appearances there. And I'm just saying, I want to pick it up from 1964, when it was like when, as I said, you're the Dr. Pepper girl and you get slated in these movies. Tell everybody about this fascinating pop culture events and movies, because to me, those movies are so great. You got no idea. It's like, come on, Daddy-O, let's get into this scene. You're getting paid to have like parties on the beach.
And the beach is what it's all about. Just like where you are in Melbourne, next to your beautiful coastline, we had Malibu. We had a full Southern California all the way up to the north coastline of gorgeous beaches and beautiful surf. And of course, surfing was the core for the beach party movies, because it wasn't a trendy thing yet. It was a sacred endeavor rather than a sport. And I just find it very ironic that two Italian people that used a lot of hairspray were the lead of a surfing movie. You'd want someone with long, beautiful, natural blonde hair that looks like they just came off the ocean. Instead, you had, of course, two American idols that never a hair was out of place, right?
I like the hot rods a lot. And also, Terry, we've got to get in the action here. Ask Donna a question about being in the surf movies. I wish you and me were back there in 1964 as extras.
Well, you know, I always wonder, I'm fascinated by the details of these things and all that. So did they come out on a Monday morning and hand you a script and said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a read through and we want you to go over there. And then in a couple of days later, they would shoot that scene? Or just how did all of that work like that?
Gee, you're asking me a very detailed question, Terry, for the preparation. You know, these were considered B movies.
Yeah.
You know, the budgets were very nominal. I don't think they really knew that they would become classics, but I'm glad they have. I primarily had to pre-record, especially if I was on location, and then be able to integrate whatever choreography and whatever setting I was in to be able to lip sync appropriately, you know. And I always sang live, you know, to whatever the recording was. But that was my preparation. I really didn't have much dialogue in those films. I was primarily the girl singer. So I'm sure that, you know, Annette and Frankie and Don Rickles and some of the other cast members that did have some dialogue, that they did have to study. But you know, I mean, these scripts were kind of no-brainers, and
Exactly.
there was a lot of music. And I think my friend Bobby Shaw, who played Yaya, that Buster Keaton was always chasing, you know, she's a wonderful, wonderful human being. And her Yaya role was two little words, yada. So
So did they play when it was your time to sing? Did they play your song and you singing like over the speakers or something? And you didn't lip sync, you sang along to kind of keep track where you were on the record and all that. Is that how they kept that stuff together?
yeah, I always sang live, whether I was on American Bandstand or, you know, anytime I ever needed to sing, to lip sync, I always sang live. And the sets, well, I would say Bikini Beach, that was actually on the ocean, and also Pajama Party. Those two had to have speakers set up outside, and then you had helicopters flying over, or you had a plane flying over. And so sometimes, you know, you'd end up with a pretty bad sunburn because you had to wait for all the extemporaneous noises to be gone before it's your 3 minutes of, you know, in the sun.
And they told you like in advance, we want you to sing the first verse over here and then walk over here to sing the second verse. And or was that all just you?
That would, I think a lot of us were, you know, were hired because, you know, there was very little direction needed.
Gotcha. I get it. I get it. So if you walked over and picked up that bottle of Dr. Pepper, that was your choreography doing what you thought was the best.
Well, the Dr. Pepper part, not exactly, but yeah, the singing of the songs, absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. That is great.
I think, although maybe one exception, I really didn't know that I was going to be sitting next to a fireplace holding a hot dog on a stick. So that was a little like spontaneous for me to react to,
but it worked. It all works perfect in that.
But also you got to sing and dance, Terry, in a bikini. It doesn't make it any easier if it's very, very hot. You know, it's not like, you know, in 1964, I mean, as I said, that was like the in scene. They didn't know that they were doing like the in scene, and this film would be shown in Australia that's going to influence people that are on the beach here and they surf and they don't know what's going on. But now, hey, look at these groovy people in America. Is that how they party on the beach, you know? For us, we didn't have that identity, as I said once before. But after the beach movies came on, it was like, let's go, daddy-o, let's get the station wagon, put the boards on, get the esky, we call it esky, right, which is a little fridge, throw all our drinks in and just go out and party in your bikinis and turn on your radio and just sing. You know, that's how much of an influence it had here, because our coastline is always beautiful beaches. I can't tell you what it was like in 1964. I mean, I was only 6 at the time, but our culture is the beach.
and what a wonderful culture that is. Oh.
And
I do want to tell you though, you know, if you look at my scenes in those movies, I never wore a bikini.
Yeah.
That was in my Dr. Pepper contract, that I could never wear a bikini. As soon as I could wear a bikini, I haven't taken it off.
So I'm just saying, that scene where you're wearing that red outfit under that big shed where everyone's dancing around you, are you wearing a dress?
No, I'm wearing a one-piece bathing suit, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, one-piece bathing suit, got you.
How do you think the beach culture, the kids who were there, not the kids on the film, the kids that really were in the beach and all that,
Oh.
how do you think they looked at those movies? Did they just roll their eyes and go, oh, what's going on here? Because this isn't, you know, or I'm just curious how that went over with them.
Are you saying that when we were filming?
Yes, and afterwards. Yes.
Yeah, well, the areas that we shot were cleared, so there were no pedestrians. But when we traveled to promote the movies, I may have shared this with you before, that many times people had never seen the ocean. This was their first experience, and it was overwhelming because of the way that it was presented. It gave them that kind of, you know, virtual experience. And maybe they never will see the ocean for real. Maybe that's the only experience they'll ever have. And of course, the oceans in the 60s were much more pristine than they are today, as we know. And may I tip my hat to an organization called 4Ocean, started by two surfer boys who collected plastic from the California coastline to begin with, and have gone on to create a huge organization of pulling tons of plastic out of the ocean to help with other organizations that are trying to clean up the oceans and preserve the coral reefs and all the fish and the sea life that still remain and hopefully can come back, after so much intrusion from, oil companies and toxic waste and so forth.
Yeah.
That plastic destroys the sea life. That's why it was very important to clean up the sea. Now,
yeah, I mean, you see, when you look up number 4 ocean, you see that, very innocent creatures, tortoises, dolphins, they're just doing their thing, and they're hungry and they see this object, and so they ingest it, and they can't live because it doesn't digest, or they get tangled up in nets. Anyway, guys, part of the reason that I agreed to come on and talk about, the beach party movies is because of our precious ocean, to preserve it and to bring more consciousness to your listeners. And I don't live by the sea right now, but Mother Nature has been providing a tremendous amount of rain in this desert mountainous region. And so she's the number one. She's my heroine to step in and remind us all to preserve and appreciate and revere who we are, where we came from, right? And that many generations. What do they say? When you think about the future, you think about 7 generations in front of you. What will your great grandchildren be inheriting? So they need a lot of courage to fix all the problems.
Yeah, we've got to save the planet and we've got to save the wildlife. But let me tell you, one photo I saw, someone sent it to me. This lady was in the forest and she hugged the tree. To me, that was just a moment saying how close the humans can be to nature and how much more we can appreciate what's around us, because while it's here, and we have to protect it because so easily it can be gone. And that's just how it is.
I noticed when I was on my cruise, Donna, the cruise lines make a very good point while you're there about what they are doing to help the same thing like you talked about, because that's their livelihood, right there. But they get highly involved in those kind of situations that you're talking about, whether it's the organization you're talking about or many other ones that do that. And it's nice to see what they're doing, and they tell you on the ship, here's how you can help and things like that. So it's a really neat circle there of how everything can help.
Yeah, more awareness can't hurt,
Yep, exactly.
Go on the net and check that all out, because we love the planet, and it's going to go a lot further if people have more knowledge about what's going on. Now, Donna, I want to ask you something about Bobby Sherman. Because you sang with Bobby, you knew Bobby, and Bobby was on one of the Monkees episodes where they were looking for a star to play in the movies, and he played someone that was on the beach. Catalina, that was his surname they gave him for that Monkees episode. And what happens is they wanted Davey to be the star, but they got Bobby Sherman to be the beach star. This is what, like 67 is like so groovy for these shows where there's Bobby Sherman and yourself on the Monkeys. You know, we know that and we love that. But those episodes live forever, Donna, because new generations are watching it on YouTube. They're buying the DVDs and they're learning. And you know, the great thing with you, you've covered all platforms of media. And now in 2022, there isn't anything that you can't put on the net and say, I was on this TV show, or I was in this beach movie, or I was in Shindig. You know, there isn't anything that you can't show the world of your talents, because you're not, how can I say, you're not one-dimensional. You covered everything, and your career went from strength to strength to strength to strength to strength. Now, that rarely happens in people's careers.
Look here, girls, take my advice and remember always in life, into each heart some tears must fall. Though you love and lose, you must stand tall. 'Cause we all got to cry sometimes. I said decide sometimes. Pull yourself together. Know you're crying forever because there's many fish in the sea. I see they're short and tall and fine one time. Too many fish in the sea. Yeah, 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 yeah. My mother once told me something, and every word is true. Don't waste your time on a better, just love. He'll only mislead you, or he'll grieve you. Don't worry about him, let him go. Do without him because there's too many fish in the sea. Too many fish in the sea. I see there's short ones, tall ones, fine ones, fine ones. Too many fish in the sea. Yeah, 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 Well, if the fish isn't on your line, take your hook and keep on trying. Don't let him get you down. There's other bars around. Too many fish in the sea. I say there's short ones, tall ones, fine ones, kind ones. Too many fish in the sea. Yeah, 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 yeah. I don't want nobody, don't want me. Too many fish in the sea. Ain't gonna love nobody that don't love me now. Too many fish in the sea. Well, we don't need nobody that don't need me now. See, yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm really interested to know when you went to Italy, I think, to play in a movie. I mean, that was a serious role, wasn't it?
Oh boy, that was where shall I begin? So my life at the time, I was just turning 20. And you know, I was managed and chaperoned by my adopted father. And he heard about an opportunity to go on the dating game that was a little unusual, because Zsa Zsa Gabor was scheduled to be on, and normally people would go on as celebrities just for scale, union scale, but she demanded more. So she decided not to carry on, and there was an opening. So my adopted father said, okay, Donna will, you know, supplement. and she has a record that she can promote. So to me, it was a job. But I told my best friend Janice, if she was able to come with me, to sit in the front row and please help me choose if it came to that. So she was stationed in the front row and I could see her. But what they did is they wheeled out a piano and I sat on top of it while I was lip syncing to whatever recording I was promoting at that time. And then the commercial came in and I was shown, to the seat. question who was behind the curtain. And my mind was not with that. My mind was, this is a job. I'm here to work, and never thinking that there would be any consequence. So I did end up choosing, but before I chose, Jim Lang, the host, saw that I was looking for my girlfriend to help me choose. And he was blocking her, so I couldn't see what she just, was telling me this one. And so I chose whatever, who was a real dud for me. And we were given a prize of going to the races at Monte Carlo. So the reason I'm telling you this is because when I was called to do an audition, a read for this movie to be filmed in Italy, I'd already been told that I had tickets to fly to Paris. So I enter the Beverly Hills Hotel, where this director, writer, and producer of this Italian film was staying, with my adopted dad. And we both walked into his suite, and he showed me the script and told me, I want you to read this part. So I went off to the side and kind of did a little bit of a preview. And then he asked my dad to leave the room. Now, that had never happened. But my dad agreed, and he stepped outside and stood in the hallway. And my only experience of coming close to something that I didn't care for, this producer, writer, director started reading the script with me. And when it came to the time in parenthesis that said, and then she cries, my tears started to flow. And he put his hand on my knee. And I got up. I wasn't going to let it go any farther than that. And, he made a remark, and, that's just not who I am. But anyway, I stood up, I walked out. I told my dad, what had happened. And he said, you'll get over it. So he walked me back into the suite, and this director, writer, producer said, we want you in Rome to do a screen test. And the movie was called Buonasera, Mrs. Campbell, starring Gina Lollobrigida. So this is a little bit of a long story. And he said, do you have any opportunity to come to Europe? Like, he didn't offer to fly me from Los Angeles to Rome. And I said, well, I'm scheduled to go to Paris. I'll be darned, but I ended up taking the trip to Paris, and I had a different chaperone from the dating game, assistant director named Tom Turbovich, who was a very sweet young guy. He ended up being my date because I didn't care for the guy that I chose. And he decided to escort me because my adopted dad flew directly from LA to Rome to meet me there. And so we reconvened, and I met with the director there in Rome. And I said to my dad, after what he did, I don't think I can respond to him. But the relationship, I think I told you, with my family was that, I earned the living for the family. And so I had that responsibility. And so I did my best and went to the screen test. And first thing they do to me is they took Scotch tape or something like that. And they said, we want your eyes to be more almond. So they taped me back a little bit. I wish I could do that now. a little taping. And then he wanted me to smoke, which I've never liked. Well, a cigarette, just a regular cigarette. And I swear I took one hit and I almost fainted. I didn't know how to smoke. And it just didn't go very well. And there was another girl there doing a screen test named Janet Margolis, I believe. And they hired her. But before they hired her, they did take me to meet Gina Lollobrigida. And I recall being driven up this very long road in Italy with the cypress trees on either side. It was this long road that you see the villa in the distance for the movie Queen, right? And she greets us, and I walk by, oh, this is a long story. I walk by this grand piano and I see one picture, one photo on the piano, and it's framed in silver. And I say to her, did you take this picture? Because she loved photography. And she said, yes, I did. That's my son. Well, the photo was an 8x10 of a boy, maybe around 9 or 10 years old, naked, standing, bent over backwards with his head facing through his legs. Can you picture that?
Yes.
Well, Plus GP and Terry Crain would like to thank Donna Loren for being on the show. It's been just a fantastic time. You agree, Terry?
And I do. And you know what? If people don't have Donna's book, which is the Pop 60s book, it's a great book because you go in there and you see all the backgrounds and stuff that's going on and things that happened in her career and everything. I just sit and look at this all the time because it takes you back and it brings you into new insight of what went on around that time. And I love it.
Exactly. Now I want everyone to go to donnaloren.com. You're going to find everything there, right? She's got such fantastic books, such fantastic photos that she can autograph for you, such great merchandise to purchase. Make sure you go to donnaloren.com because we do. And Donna, as I said, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's been such a pleasure for us. We just love you.
Thank you so much.
We just love having you on our show, don't we, Terry?
Yes, we do. Love it.
It's mutual. Thank you so much, guys. I always enjoy my time with you.
Thank you, Donna.
I've been told a boy just a girl that takes a trip around the way. Hey, 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 yeah, see what you do. My mama says I can trip. I get it through to my feet. Hey, 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 hey. When I'm talking about